All right, welcome everybody to Rxperience. I am your host, Chad, alongside my longtime podcasting partner, Tom. Tom, how are you?
Good morning.
You
Fantastic. Good
look
morning.
you look cold in your hoodie, your Penguins hoodie.
Listen, we're on the verge of despair. We're hanging on just by the white of our knuckles, and so I want to try to give a little bit of positive vibe out there as they continue to survive and move on to the next round. That's my focus. However, it is getting very dark around the edges of the Penguins, so we're here to root them on, but also be a little realistic that it's probably not going to go much further.
That's a shame.
Well, it is baseball season, so we're still in it. It's not July
It
yet.
is a good distraction for people in Pittsburgh now that it's baseball season, that the Pens are in the playoffs. I think that's probably a fair statement.
Yeah. So,
All right, well,
get
we're having grab bag day on this podcast. I did wear my We the People shirt. I still want to continue to enjoy and reflect on America 250, particularly as we head toward our annual meeting. So it's a fun
what's
time
in
to be.
store?
Fun time to
What's in
be.
store for the DC group up there? I mean, I know Washington's going to obviously be the center of attention for the 250 celebration, but have you anything that you're excited about? Have you gotten tickets for anything? What are you guys going to be doing?
I haven't yet, but everybody around here is incorporating America 250 into everything that they do. So there's a lot of events. There's a lot of shorts, like in terms of stories that are out there, just highlighting different aspects of this year as we go through it. I mean, it's super fun. I mean, I was 3 when it was July 4th, 1976. But so I don't really remember that, but I have to believe it was a pretty exciting time in the United States. And I think the same thing's here. I mean, they shouldn't be controversial, but there's going to be a UFC fight on the White House lawn. There's going to be a
Nice.
IndyCar race through the streets of DC later in the summer. I'm sure that the 4th of July is going to be just bananas around here.
Yeah.
And then Alexandria enjoys its own history. It's just sitting across the Potomac from DC. Originally was part of DC. So it's got a lot of things going on. It always has its birthday the week after 4th of July. That's when Alexandria was founded. It will not be their 250th though. I forget what year they're in, but it'll still be a big celebration. And then you have Mount Vernon. I mean, the one place that we've been a member of as a family since we moved here is Mount Vernon, and it is just an awesome place, and it's worth going
Yeah.
and repeating going. So
Yeah, I mean, up in the DC area, I got an opportunity to live up there for about a year, closer to Baltimore. But there was something we could do different every weekend for like 3 years and not run out of things to do. And now with the excitement of the 250, I'm sure there's just significant more events. So I think this year is gonna go by very very quickly. We've got obviously the Summer Olympics. We've got FIFA World Cup. So there's
yeah,
major sporting events that
yeah.
don't happen that often. So I mean, I think America is gonna be a lot of fun here in 2026, and we can spend the time, complaining or worrying or fretting about future and things that are happening right now. But I hope that we take up this opportunity because I don't imagine it's going to be another year anytime in our lifetime that's going to be so eventful as everything that's going to be happening right here, right now.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to, I'm not sure this is the event that brings us all together as a people, but it should be. We're all Americans. We all, enjoy the fruits of this country that were founded 250 years ago, and we should all appreciate that.
Yeah. I sure hope so. I can't. I know there's always been politics. There's always been debates. I was watching something the other day. They're talking about how when John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were competing and doing the runoff, and they were completely opposite extremes of each other's when it came to the political views, and they both end up serving as presidents. And we look back 250 years later to say, man, they had their strengths and they had their weaknesses, but America continued to thrive underneath both of their leaderships. And I think it's the same way right now. I don't think that's changing, regardless of who's in the White House, regardless of who has control over the Senate. It's about making America better and surviving and thriving. And, as long as we keep that at the forefront, even though we've had some maybe political differences, I think that overall we just continue to progress better as the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we had recently another sort of, I don't know if you want to call it an assassination attempt, I guess you could say it was. We just don't need that. We just don't need that kind of stuff. Like, we've got to be able to work through these debates, have constructive debate, and be able to agree to disagree and still put our arm around each other and say, it's really great to be a citizen of the United States of America, even though we might not agree on an issue.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get back to that. Maybe the events around the America 250 will help with that. We'll see.
At least for the time. But we're going to end that close to ending the 250 year with a celebration at National Harbor.
Yep.
ASCP's annual conference is going to be conveniently at National Harbor. So I'm sure there's a lot of 250 talk and signs and things like that. That'll be exciting to get up to DC for that.
Yeah, we have some good imagery for the meeting. I think the theme is building for an age-friendly tomorrow. So it's, going to have that sort of historical look back, future look forward feel to it as it relates to our sector of pharmacy. I think it'll be great. My first meeting, I think it was my first meeting, 2018, was National Harbor. And we invited in the racing presidents from the Washington Nationals to the Expo Hall, and they ran around the Expo Hall for the first night. And I think we're going to do that again because it was it was so fun. And, again, it fits the theme, right? We also have the opportunity to invite a lot of agency-based, DC-based speakers, which I also think will be important. We should be able to get someone from the Drug Enforcement Agency, someone from CMS. We've made a request out there for Dr. Oz to see if he will keynote our meeting. I was actually talking about that to the Council of Presidents, which is all of our former presidents get together quarterly, and we have kind of an update. It's a good way to bridge leadership and keep people that have served ASCP in a leadership capacity in the loop as what's going on. And one of the presidents, how do we arrive at Dr. Oz? Kind of, once again, bringing in that controversial aspect of what we deal with. But if you look at Dr. Oz, and we'll probably post, we'll probably play a little bit of a video right now.
I think we can do the same thing with pharmacists. Pharmacists do not work at the height of their licensure. Think about that. You go to pharmacy school, you're not there to dispense pills. You have a lot of stuff.
Pharmacies have been trying to do that, but at the same time, because they're under pressure, it's again, everyone always says about healthcare, you push on the balloon on one side, it pops out on the other, because this is a very complex system.
So Bertha, in our mindset, part of the problem has been people on my team have been slowing it down. My team being doctors, right? Because we don't want to give up control. So the $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund, that was part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, forces this conversation. The president and the Senate very thoughtfully said, Oz, give the money out by the end of the year. Don't hold on to it. Governors are the ones who know what's best for their states. Trust them with that money. So there's a grant process. notice of funding opportunity. Those grants are coming in by the beginning of November. We're going to allocate the money by the end of the year. We're going to ask governors, that's a very concrete example. We want them to evaluate the licensure of pharmacists and free them to be able to provide great services. I mean, think about the scenario. You're a 28-year-old woman, you work in a facility that needs you back at work at 7 in the morning, and your kid gets a sore throat at night. There's 45 miles from you, there's an ER. They can figure out if the kid has strep throat, or go to your local pharmacy where there's 60,000 pharmacies. There's many more pharmacies. There's at least 12 times more pharmacies than hospitals. So just go to a pharmacy, get the pharmacist to do a swab, it's a strep test. Doctor can adjudicate if the right treatment is penicillin. Penicillin's right in the store. Give the pill to the mom. She's back in bed by 10:30. The child's sleeping comfortably. Skips a day or two to school, but didn't have to get dragged across the state to get tested. That's a good use of our healthcare resources, and it's a lot cheaper than paying for an ER visit.
I would argue that a lot of that is already happening between telehealth and with a lot of these pharmacy chains that have been able to do that.
It's not scaled. It is happening, yes, you can do it. But even telehealth's being held up by the shutdown.
Exactly.
But a lot of folks don't have confidence in the longevity of these issues. We should codify these. This should be part of what we do going forward. And you can bet on it. You can build businesses around it.
He has been very upfront about the role of the pharmacist and in getting pharmacists involved.
Right.
We think we want to, obviously, as we engage different people in agencies and different people in government, these are the soft spots we look for in terms of pushing policy through. So if Dr. Oz is saying we need to figure out how to use pharmacists more, then we need to be standing there saying, here's a bunch of great ways to do that, and here's how to make sure they get fairly reimbursed, and here's what can happen when we do it. We're going to do that. We don't care if this is a Republican administration or a Democrat administration. We're trying to move the ball forward for pharmacy. So if he's going to run around and say great things about pharmacists, let's hold him to that, and let's get some things done.
Certainly, and with his position, I don't know anybody that is his position at CMS that mentioned pharmacy in the past. At least I can't think of it, and it's probably very quick and very flippant, but I think it is time for, a chief pharmacy officer to be a part of CMS and for pharmacists to have a real seat at the table. And, I have a lot of hope that Dr. Oz understands that. And, the whole administration is about change, is about future. They're not afraid to spend money on innovation. They're not afraid to spend money on trying to figure out what to do in the future. And, to take something that's been around and stable as long as pharmacy has, since the mid 1800s, then it's time they have a leadership role, especially on a board like CMS.
Absolutely. So hopefully by the time we roll around to annual meeting, we'll be talking about some big things, good things. We might be talking about ECAPs and provider status passing. We can actually, I'm going to use one of my daughter's terms, we can actually low key get provider status through another bill that talks about HIV treatment, where pharmacists have already been sort of on the forefront of prescribing and managing medications for HIV, but there's another bill that sort of slips them into the Social Security Act as providers. Again, getting into that Social Security Act is the beginning of the dominoes. Right. So one way or another, we might get both, and we might get one or the other this year, and that really puts us in a good spot for the future. So,
and for associations like AMA or whatever to fight against that, just for territorial space or whatever that kind of the MO is I think just falling on deaf ears at this point. We've got a need that's well beyond what our current providers can have the ability and the resources to help with. Why not use this other very large group that has a lot of resources that are in the front line, on the front line, in the rural areas that can help Americans. So if it's better for the American people, and then it's the right thing to do for America. And so I think those comments will eventually fall on deaf ears, and I think it will. I think once that is in the statute, then we'll be able to add on to that pretty quickly. But again, we're not trying to be diagnostic. We're not trying to take anyone's place. We're trying to meet the need, as we did during the COVID epidemic.
Yeah.
We stepped up and met the need at where it was at. So,
yeah,
so let me ask you some.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I have an upcoming opportunity to meet with John White, who is the AMA executive director. He's in my position at AMA. He's been there maybe a year, maybe less than a year. He used to run WebMD. He spoke for us at our COVID meeting. He was virtual, but he spoke at our COVID meeting in 2020. And I'm going to be I'm going to be assertive with him and say, hey, can we get past this? Like, we know each other a little bit. I mean, not well, but like, we have such bigger fish to fry with artificial intelligence and the rise of consumerism and where people are seeking and getting medical advice and medical treatment, that worrying about whether or not pharmacists, inch into a different level of scope seems to be, not the right answer.
I mean, the stats and the facts are what they are. We're going to be in an epidemic with a nursing shortage if we're not already get to that level. That's going to happen with the baby boomers retiring, and then obviously needing our services. I mean, this is reality.
Yeah.
Come 2030, we're going to have something like 75 million seniors that are retired. That's going to be millions of nurses, millions of doctors that are retiring.
Yeah.
Or have retired. And there's just not enough replacement of those, and that's just the pure facts and stats of it. And so I would even ask the question is, how are you going to handle the surge of geriatrics?
Yep.
But given the number of resources that you have, and I just don't think they have an answer in that unless they'd rather trust AI to diagnose and prescribe over pharmacists.
Yeah.
Which might be their plan.